Welcome to our video lesson on adding integers using the number line. The first thing you need to know about adding integers using the number line is that when we're adding positive integers, we always move to the right, so towards the positives on our number line. Here are the positives, and when we're adding positives, we move towards them. The same can be said about the negatives. So when a number is negative and we're adding a negative, we move to the left, towards the negatives. So this is true for adding, that we're moving towards whichever direction towards the sign of the number we have, or the sign of the addend. Before we get into some examples, I'd like you to write down the steps so that you can refer back to them later. The first thing you're going to do when you're adding integers is plot the first addend on your number line. Remember, in an addition equation, we have, let's say we have -3 plus -2. The two numbers that are being added together are called our addends. So you're going to plot the first one, that would be -3 in this situation, on your number line. The second one, determine your direction using the sign of your second addend. So here the sign of our second addend is negative, and we can see our second addend sign there is negative. So which way would we move? We would move towards the left, because remember, when it's a negative sign, we're moving towards the left or towards the negative numbers. The last step, move as many spaces as the second addend. So in our situation, we moved 2 spaces because our second addend is -2. All right, after you've got these written down, let's try some examples. Our first example is going to seem really easy to you, but I just want to make sure you really understand it. The first thing is to plot our first addend. That's our first step. All right, our first addend is here. It's 4. So we're going to plot 4 on our number line. And I can see 4 is right here, so I'm going to plot 4. All right, our second step is to determine your direction using the sign of the second addend. All right, our second addend doesn't have a sign out front. And because there's no sign out front, that means we know it is a positive. So we are going to move in the positive direction, which is to the right, towards the positive numbers, because we're adding a positive. And we move as many spaces as the second addend. So our second addend is 3, so we are going to move 3 spaces to the right, 1, 2, 3, to find our sum, which you probably already knew, which you definitely already knew, was 7. All right, hopefully that example was very straightforward and you have it written down. We're going to do something a little bit more challenging now. All right, now we have 4 plus -3. Notice first that there's parentheses written around the -3. Those are there because we can't have two signs next to each other without the parentheses there. So we couldn't have plus and then negative right beside each other. So we need those parentheses. All right, we have 4 plus -3. Our first step is to plot our first addend, which again is 4. So I'm going to plot 4 on our number line. All right, then it said, determine your direction using the sign of our second addend. The sign of our second addend is negative. And remember, when you're adding integers, you're moving towards the sign of your second addend. So we're going to move to the left because it's towards the negatives. All right, and the amount we're going to move is 3. So we are going to move 3 spaces to the left. 1, 2, 3. That must mean that 4 plus -3 is equal to 1. And I'm going to plot our sum, our final answer, on our number line. Okay, let's do some more examples. Now we have -4 plus 3. Well, notice that there's no parentheses around this -4. We don't need parentheses there because there's no sign in front here. There's no sign out here, so we don't need parentheses around that -4. You could put them around it if you wanted to, but you don't have to. All right, our first step is to plot our first addend. Well, our first addend is -4, so I'm going to plot -4 on our number line. Then we are going to move in the direction of the sign of our second addend, or the sign of the 3, which is positive. So we are going to move towards the positive 3 spaces. So 1, 2, 3, which tells me that -4 plus 3 is equal to -1. All right, let's do one final example. we now have negative 4 plus negative 3. Okay, first step, plot our first addend at negative 4. So we're going to plot that right there. Our second step is to move in the direction of the sign of our second addend, which is a negative, which means we're going to move towards the negative numbers here. And how much are we going to move? We're going to move 3 spaces. So negative 4 plus negative 3 would be 1, 2, 3 spaces in the negative direction, which gives us negative 7. All right, now it's your turn to do some practice. Hopefully you've seen and you can follow the steps now. Do the practice on your worksheet, and then if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. That's all for now. I'll talk to you later.